The afternoon sun cut through the lace curtains of Dorothy Washington's kitchen, painting golden stripes across the white marble countertops. At 67, Mama Dot moved through her domain with the precision of a woman who'd spent 40 years managing supply chains. Every ingredient in its place, every step calculated, every outcome anticipated. "Move on up a little higher," crackled softly from the vintage radio perched on the windowsill. Mahalia Jackson's voice filled the kitchen like incense, holy and familiar. Mama Dot hummed along as her hands worked the pound cake batter, the rhythm as natural as breathing. The kitchen smelled like heaven and memory intertwined. Real vanilla extract, the good Madagascar kind, none of that imitation nonsense, mixed with the butter she'd left softening since dawn. 4 eggs, their yolks the deep orange of free-range chickens from Miss Claudette's backyard coop next door. Flour sifted 3 times because Mama Dot didn't believe in shortcuts. Not in baking, not in life. She wore Jerome's old apron, the blue one with Jerome's Kitchen Queen, embroidered in gold thread across the chest. Her late husband had given it to her 30 years ago, back when she'd just made junior manager at the hospital supply company. The fabric was worn soft now, spotted with decade-old stains that no amount of OxyClean could erase. She wouldn't replace it for the world. "Lord Jerome," she murmured to the empty kitchen, "if you could see what I'm about to deal with today." The apron still smelled faintly of his cologne when she pressed it close. Old Spice and coffee, and the particular warmth of a man who'd loved her fiercely for 43 years. 5 years gone, and some mornings she still reached for him across the bed. Outside, Savannah's September heat pressed against the windows. The old Victorian house on the corner of Forsyth Park stood like a fortress of memory. 3 stories of dove-gray siding, wraparound porches, and the kind of architectural dignity that whispered old money. Except Mama Dot's money wasn't old. It was hard-earned, every dollar scraped together from night shifts and weekend courses and the bone-deep belief that she deserved more than what the world assumed a black woman from the West Side could achieve. The grandfather clock in the hallway struck 3. 4 hours until the party. Mama Dot slid the pound cake into the oven, 350 degrees, 55 minutes, no peeking, and straightened up, one hand pressed to the small of her back. Arthritis had been creeping into her joints lately, a reminder that time came for everyone, even women who refused to act their age. She moved to the dining room where she'd already set out her good china, the Lenox set with the platinum trim that she'd bought piece by piece over 10 years. 24 place settings arranged on the mahogany table that had belonged to Jerome's grandmother. White linen tablecloth, hand-embroidered by her own grandmother back in 1952. Centerpiece of fresh magnolias from the garden, their creamy petals just beginning to brown at the edges, smelling like the South itself. This was supposed to be a Sunday dinner. Traditional. Intimate. The way her people had been gathering for generations. Good food, good company, good conversation. She'd invited the church ladies, her old colleagues from the hospital, Ms. Claudette and her daughter, 30 people who'd known her when she was just Dorothy Jenkins, the cleaning lady's daughter with big dreams and bigger nerve. The menu was set, her famous fried chicken, buttermilk brined for 24 hours, collard greens with smoked turkey neck, mac and cheese with 3 types of cheese, none of that Velveeta foolishness, candied yams, cornbread, and green beans cooked down with bacon until they surrendered their souls. Real food, soul food, the kind that told stories. The front door banged open. "Mama, where you at?" Mama Dot's jaw tightened. She recognized that voice, her daughter Vanessa's particular blend of impatience and entitlement. "In the dining room, baby," she called back, her voice carefully neutral. What came through the door wasn't her daughter. It was an invasion. Vanessa swept in first, all 5'9" of her wrapped in a neon pink pantsuit that probably cost more than Mama Dot's first car. Her hair, natural last month, was now bone straight, cascading down her back in a way that screamed 20-inch Brazilian bundles, $800. Behind her streamed an entourage, 3 young women with ring lights and cameras, 2 men hauling equipment cases, a skinny white boy with a clipboard, and someone who appeared to be professionally holding a Starbucks cup. Okay, so we're going to need to move all of this," Vanessa announced, waving her manicured hand, coffin-shaped nails, burgundy with gold tips, at the dining table. "The lighting's all wrong, and honestly, Mama, this whole antique vibe is giving very 2005? Mama Dot stood perfectly still. "Excuse me?" No shade, Vanessa laughed. the sound sharp and bright like breaking glass. But this is 2025, and my brand is all about elevated aesthetics. We need a backdrop that says aspirational Black excellence, not my grandma's house. One of the camera people, a young Black woman with purple locks, started removing the centerpiece. "Baby, what is all this?" Mama Dot asked quietly. This is content, Mama." Vanessa's eyes gleamed. "I told you I wanted to do something special for your birthday. Well, guess what? Glow Nova is doing a whole campaign around generational glow, and your party is going to be the launch event." Vanessa, wait, you're going to love this part. Vanessa pulled out her phone, swiping through images with the speed of someone who lived online. "So we're going to set up a photo wall right here, branded obviously, and then the dining room becomes a lounge setup. I've got 40 influencers coming." 40? Mama Dot's voice could have cut steel. "Well, 50 with plus ones, but who's counting?" Vanessa barely looked up from her phone. "They're all micro-influencers in the beauty and lifestyle space, super engaged audiences, and they're going to post all night. We're talking minimum 2 million impressions, Mama." "For free. Do you know how much that would cost in ads?" The clipboard kid chimed in. "Actually, based on current CPM rates..." "Not now, Tyler." Vanessa silenced him with a look. Mama Dot watched as her carefully set table was dismantled. The Lenox china disappeared into bubble wrap. The embroidered tablecloth folded and removed. In its place, workers assembled a backdrop made of rose gold balloons spelling out Glow Nova times Mama Dot 67th. "What about the food?" Mama Dot asked. "I've got chicken marinating, greens on the stove." "Oh, Mama, no." Vanessa's face scrunched up like she'd tasted something sour. "We can't do heavy soul food for this crowd. I've got a caterer bringing sushi, charcuterie boards, and these amazing vegan cauliflower bites." "Vegan cauliflower bites." Mama Dot repeated the words slowly, tasting their absurdity. "Trust me, it's what people want. Plus it photographs better." From the kitchen, the timer dinged. Mama Dot's pound cake was done. She didn't move. "Mama, you okay?" For the first time, Vanessa actually looked at her mother. "You're not upset, are you? Because this is a good thing. My brand is blowing up, and I want to share that with you. Aren't you proud?" Mama Dot met her daughter's eyes, saw the little girl who used to help her frost cakes for church bake sales, saw the teenager who'd cried in this very dining room when she didn't get into Spelman, saw the woman who'd stood at Jerome's funeral, phone in hand, checking Instagram between hymns. "I need to get my cake," Mama Dot said quietly. She walked to the kitchen, pulled the golden brown perfection from the oven, set it on the cooling rack, stared at it until her vision blurred. Behind her, Vanessa's voice carried from the dining room. "And make sure you get my good side. That's my left, always my left." The pound cake sat cooling on the counter, filling the kitchen with the smell of Mama Dot's grandmother's legacy. 67 tiny candles waited in a box, one for each year. Mama Dot had spent last evening rolling each one between her fingers, praying over them, praying for wisdom, for patience, for the strength not to cuss out her only child at her own birthday party. She heard a crash from the dining room, followed by Vanessa's sharp, "Careful! That ring light costs more than your rent." Mama Dot closed her eyes, counted to 10, opened them. Her granddaughter Kenya had materialized in the kitchen doorway, 16 years old and drowning in a crop top that showed her entire midriff. The child was on her phone, naturally, fingers flying across the screen. "Hey, Grandma," Kenya mumbled without looking up. "Mom says you need to stay out of the dining room for like another hour. They're setting up." "Setting up in my own house," Mama Dot observed. "Yeah, well," Kenya shrugged, still typing. "It's lit, though. I already got like 2,000 views on my story just from posting the car ride over here." "That's nice, baby." "You should see the comments. Everybody's like, OMG, your grandma's house is goals, and I can't believe Glow Nova is doing a whole party. Mom says this could be my big break. She's going to tag me in all her posts tonight." Kenya finally looked up, and for a moment, Mama Dot saw something familiar in her granddaughter's eyes. A hunger, a desperation to be seen, to matter, to count. Lord, Mama Dot thought, I raised a daughter who thinks her value is measured in views. "Kenya, baby, can you bring me that folder from my office? The purple one on my desk? Can't you get it? I'm literally in the middle of responding to Kenya." Just her name, just that tone. The one that had made Vanessa straighten up even in her most rebellious years. Fine, okay, geez. Kenya slouched out, phone still in hand. Mama Dot moved to the kitchen window, looking out at the garden Jerome had planted. His roses were blooming, deep red, the color of devotion. She'd watered them faithfully for 5 years, talking to them like he could hear. She done lost her mind, Jerome, she whispered to the roses. Our baby girl done truly lost her mind. Movement caught her eye. Through the window she could see into the dining room. Vanessa was directing her team like a general, arms waving, voice carrying. No, the lighting has to hit my face at exactly 45 degrees. We've been over this. One of the influencers, a young man with bleached dreads, was filming everything, narrating into his camera. So we're at Mama Dot's spot for her birthday, and let me tell you, Glow Nova is serving looks tonight. Mama Dot's hands curled into fists. Kenya reappeared, the purple folder dangling from 2 fingers like it might bite her. Here, can I go now? Thank you, baby. Mama Dot took the folder, her touch reverent. Kenya was already leaving when she paused in the doorway, distracted by something on her phone. Oh shit, sorry, Grandma. Oh my God. What? Mom's contract thing. She left her Google Drive open. Kenya's eyes were wide, scrolling. Grandma, did you know she signed a deal for like a reality show? The kitchen went very quiet. What kind of deal? Mama Dot's voice was soft, dangerous. Kenya read off her screen. It says exclusive rights agreement, Glow Nova and Sterling family brand. There's like a whole proposal thing. Following 4 generations of Black women building wealth, from matriarch Dorothy Washington to entrepreneur Vanessa Sterling to Gen Z influencer Kenya Sterling. Let me see that. Kenya hesitated. I probably shouldn't. Kenya Elizabeth Sterling. The phone changed hands. Mama Dot read. Her face didn't change, but something cold and final settled in her chest. The docuseries will focus on the aspirational lifestyle of the Sterling family, with emphasis on luxury, entrepreneurship, and modern Black excellence. The matriarch, Dorothy Washington, will serve as the elder inspiration, but will not discuss past economic struggles, as focus groups indicate audiences prefer already successful narratives. Episode 1, The Birthday Launch. Vanessa Sterling will host her mother's 67th birthday party, introducing her brand Glow Nova to the family's social circle. Compensation, $250,000 advance against future earnings, paid to Vanessa Sterling upon signing. All family members must sign NDA and exclusivity clause. Dorothy Washington's participation is required per family brand package. The date on the contract was 6 weeks ago. Mama Dot had never seen it. Never been asked. Never been told. Grandma, you okay? Kenya's voice sounded very far away. Mama Dot set the phone down carefully, precisely, on the counter. Her hands weren't shaking. They should have been, but they weren't. Did your mama get $250,000 for this? She asked. I don't know. I guess. Kenya looked genuinely scared now. Grandma, I shouldn't have shown you. I didn't mean to. Hush, baby. This ain't your fault. Mama Dot's voice was eerily calm. Tell me something. This party tonight. All these people, all these cameras. Did you know it was being filmed for TV? Kenya nodded miserably. And your mama told y'all not to tell me. Another nod. Mama Dot looked at her granddaughter, 16, lost, desperate for approval from anyone with a follower count. Looked at the dining room where her daughter was commodifying their family history for content. Looked at the pound cake cooling on the counter, the one nobody would eat because it didn't photograph well. She opened the purple folder. Inside were documents she'd prepared 3 years ago, after Jerome died. After she'd realized that the daughter she'd raised had become someone she barely recognized. The legacy folder. The edges were worn from how many times she'd opened it late at night, wondering if she'd ever need to actually use it. Praying she wouldn't, knowing she might. Kenya, baby, I need you to go back out there, Mama Dot said quietly. I need you to be sweet to your mama, smile for the cameras, do whatever she asks. But Grandma, can you do that for me? Kenya swallowed hard, nodded. Good girl, now go on. Alone in the kitchen, Mama Dot pulled out her phone, an iPhone 14 that Vanessa had bought her last Christmas, saying, Mama, you can't still be using that old Galaxy. She opened her contacts, found the name she needed. Attorney Elise Montgomery. They'd been friends for 30 years. Met in a community college business course when they were both young mothers working full-time and dreaming bigger. Elise had gone to law school. Mama Dot had climbed the hospital supply chain ladder. Both had succeeded beyond their wildest imaginings. The phone rang twice. "Dorothy Washington, as I live and breathe." Elise's warm voice filled the line. "Don't tell me you're calling to cancel on me. I already bought you a present." "You still coming at 6? "Wouldn't miss it, honey. Reverend Pat and I are riding together." "Good." Mama Dot's voice was steady. "Elise, I need you to bring your briefcase. The one with the estate documents." Silence on the other end. Then, "Dot, what's happening?" "I'm activating the protocol." "The Dorothy, are you sure? Once we do this, I'm sure." Another pause. Elise had known her long enough to hear everything Mama Dot wasn't saying. "How bad?" "My daughter just sold our family story for a reality show without telling me. She's turning my birthday dinner into a product launch. And according to the contract I just read, I'm supposed to be the elder inspiration who keeps quiet about where we came from." "Jesus." "That's what I said." Mama Dot looked out the window again at Jerome's roses. "She forgot, Elise. She forgot that I was a cleaning lady. Forgot that Jerome drove a truck. Forgot that we ate tuna casserole for dinner 4 nights a week so we could save for her college. She forgot, and I'm going to remind her. Dot, if we execute this, there's no going back." "I know. She's your daughter. And that's exactly why I have to do this, because I love her too much to let her keep becoming this person." From the dining room, Vanessa's voice rang out. "Perfect. Now let's rehearse my entrance one more time." Mama Dot made her decision. "Bring the papers, Elise, all of them, and bring your notary stamp. I'll be there at 5:45. Dot?" "Yes?" "Jerome would be proud of you." The words hit harder than Mama Dot expected. She blinked back tears that had no business falling yet. "I hope so, honey. Lord, I hope so." She hung up, stood in her kitchen surrounded by the smell of pound cake and the sound of her daughter directing a photo shoot in what used to be a dining room. The grandfather clock chimed 4. 2 hours until the party. Mama Dot washed her hands slowly, methodically, dried them on Jerome's apron, walked to the downstairs bathroom, and looked at herself in the mirror. 67 years old. Silver hair she'd stopped dyeing 5 years ago because Jerome had loved it. Face lined with laugh lines and worry lines, and the kind of lines that came from a lifetime of not backing down. Eyes that had seen poverty and triumph, marriage and widowhood, hope and heartbreak. Eyes that weren't done yet. She pulled out her phone again, opened her banking app, looked at the account that still listed Vanessa as an authorized user, a decision she'd made 10 years ago, just in case of emergencies. Her checking account, her savings account, her investment portfolio, all accessible to her daughter with just a few clicks. Mama Dot began transferring funds, moving money, locking doors that had been left carelessly open. The grandfather clock chimed 4:30. In 90 minutes, this party would start. The cameras would roll. Vanessa would perform. And Mama Dot? Mama Dot was going to teach her daughter the most important lesson she'd somehow failed to learn in 42 years. You don't build a legacy by selling out the people who built you. She saved the final transfer, closed her banking app, smoothed down her apron. From the dining room. "Mama, can you come here for a second? We need you for a test shot." Mama Dot smiled. It was the kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. The kind of smile that made grown men in boardrooms reconsider their strategies. The kind of smile that Jerome used to call her war face. "Coming, baby," she called back, her voice sweet as pie. She was going to give Vanessa exactly what she asked for. A show. Just not the one Vanessa expected. By 6 o'clock, Mama Dot's house had been transformed into something she no longer recognized. The dining room looked like a nightclub had collided with a makeup store. Rose gold balloons clustered in every corner, their metallic sheen catching the ring lights that blazed from professional tripods. A DJ, some kid who couldn't have been older than 25, was setting up equipment in the corner where Jerome's grandfather clock used to stand. They'd moved the clock. Moved it. That clock had been in that spot for 40 years. Mama Dot stood in the kitchen doorway, watching the invasion complete itself. "Yo, yo, yo! We're live in 5!" the DJ called out, testing his microphone. The bass from his speakers made the china cabinet rattle. Vanessa emerged from the powder room in a different outfit, the 4th one today. This dress was silver, skin-tight, with cutouts that showed strategic glimpses of her toned stomach. Her makeup artist trailed behind her, touching up highlighter that already made Vanessa's cheekbones look sharp enough to cut glass. "Mama!" Vanessa spotted her, face lighting up. "Oh my God, you're still in your house clothes. Tyler, where's the outfit I picked out for Mama?" Tyler with the clipboard scurried over with a garment bag. "Baby, I got my own dress," Mama Dot said evenly. "The burgundy one I showed you last week." "That old thing?" Vanessa wrinkled her nose. "Mama, no. I got you something from Eloquy. Very elegant, very age-appropriate." "Age-appropriate." Mama Dot repeated the words slowly. "You know what I mean. Classic. Sophisticated." Vanessa unzipped the garment bag, revealing a beige dress that looked like it belonged in a retirement home brochure. "See? Perfect for photos." From the front door, voices erupted. "Happy birthday, Sister Dorothy!" Reverend Patricia Holloway swept in like a force of nature, all 6 feet of her wrapped in a purple suit and crowned with a church hat that could have had its own zip code. Behind her came the church ladies, 12 strong, dressed in their Sunday best even though it was Saturday, carrying Tupperware containers that undoubtedly held real food. "Pat!" Mama Dot felt something loosen in her chest. Real people. Her people. They embraced, and Reverend Pat whispered in her ear, "Elise is parking. She's got everything." Mama Dot nodded almost imperceptibly. "Ladies, ladies!" Vanessa intercepted them, all smiles and air kisses. "Thank you so much for coming. If you could just set those dishes in the kitchen. We've got caterers handling food tonight. And then we've reserved seating for you right over there." She gestured vaguely toward the back corner near the kitchen door. The worst seats in the house. Ms. Claudette Rivers, 72 and not having any of it, raised one eyebrow. "Reserved seating? Child, I've been coming to this house for 40 years. I'll sit where I please." Of course, Vanessa laughed, but her smile was tight. "I just meant for the camera angles. Don't care about your cameras, baby." Ms. Claudette patted Vanessa's cheek with a grandmother's condescension. "Where's the birthday girl? Dorothy, come give me some sugar." Mama Dot hugged her neighbor, breathing in the familiar scent of Pond's cold cream and peppermints. Ms. Claudette had lived next door since before Vanessa was born, had brought over casseroles when Jerome died, had watered Mama Dot's roses when she was too grief-stricken to get out of bed. "You all right, Dot?" Ms. Claudette whispered. "This whole setup seems—" "I know," Mama Dot whispered back. "Just watch, and whatever happens, don't leave." Ms. Claudette's eyes sharpened. She knew that tone. Lord have mercy. It's going to be one of those nights. The next hour was chaos orchestrated by Vanessa's clipboard and volume. The influencers arrived in waves, 50 of them, just like Vanessa promised, each one younger and more aggressively online than the last. They descended on the food table, sushi platters and vegan cauliflower bites just as threatened, like locusts, but they didn't eat much. Too busy filming themselves pretending to eat. "Okay, so we're at this iconic event," one girl narrated into her phone, "and the energy is literally immaculate. Mama Dot's actual guests, her church family, her former co-workers, her real friends, clustered in the kitchen and the back corners. Separate, segregated in her own house. She watched it all from the staircase landing, invisible. Nobody looked for the birthday girl. They were too busy looking at themselves and their phone cameras. Attorney Elise Montgomery appeared at her elbow, briefcase in hand. She was elegant in a navy pantsuit, her silver locks swept up in an intricate style. "I've got the documents," Elise murmured. "Dot, last chance. Are you absolutely sure?" Mama Dot looked down at the party. At Vanessa holding court in the center, laughing too loud, gesturing too big, performing for an audience that was only half present. The other half of their attention stayed glued to their screens. Kenya was in the corner, desperately trying to get the perfect selfie with the backdrop, adjusting her angle over and over. Deacon, her 12-year-old grandson, sat on the couch playing games on his phone, ignoring everything. And Brandon, Vanessa's husband, was already drunk, swaying by the makeshift bar, loudly telling anyone who'd listen about his almost career in the NBA. "I'm sure," Mama Dot said. They went to her office, the one room Vanessa's decorator hadn't violated. The door locked with a solid click. Mama Dot's office was small but powerful. Jerome's portrait hung above the desk, him at 50, smiling that smile that had made her fall in love with him at 19. The bookshelves held her MBA textbooks, supply chain management manuals, and financial planning guides she'd studied by flashlight after Vanessa went to bed. Elise laid out the documents on the desk. Let's start with the easy one, she said, pulling out a form. Credit card authorizations. Sign here and I'll file it electronically tonight. By midnight, all supplementary cards will be deactivated. Mama Dot signed. Her signature was steady. Next, the trust documents. You established the Jerome and Dorothy Washington Educational Trust in 2022, correct? 3 months after Jerome passed. The trust owns this house, per the life estate deed. You have the right to occupy it until your death, at which point it transfers to the HBCU Scholarship Fund. But, Elise paused, making sure Mama Dot was listening. Per Clause 7B, you also have the right to evict any occupants who violate the terms of residence, which are respect for the primary resident, that's you, and adherence to family values as outlined in the trust mission statement. Elise looked up. Dot, you wrote that mission statement yourself. This trust honors families built on sacrifice, respect, and intergenerational support. Mama Dot remembered. She'd written it at this very desk, crying, because Jerome had made her promise to protect their legacy from being squandered. Vanessa's been living here for 6 months, Mama Dot said, since her business started needing a better address for investor meetings. Has she paid rent? I didn't ask for any. She's my daughter. Did she sign a lease? No? Elise nodded. Then legally she's a guest, and guests can be asked to leave. How fast? I can have eviction notices drawn up by Monday. Georgia law requires 30 days, but... Elise pulled out another document. There's an emergency clause for properties held in charitable trust. If the occupant is engaging in behavior that damages the trust's mission, say exploiting the primary resident for commercial gain without consent, we can file for immediate eviction. How immediate? 72 hours. Mama Dot absorbed this. 3 days. Vanessa and her family gone in 3 days. There's one more thing, Elise said carefully. The financial investigation. This was the part that made Mama Dot's stomach hurt. 6 months ago, she'd noticed discrepancies in her retirement account. Small withdrawals. Nothing major. $5,000 here, $8,000 there. She'd almost convinced herself it was bank errors. Until she'd checked the authorization logs and seen Vanessa's name. I had the forensic accountant finish the audit yesterday, Elise said, pulling out a thick folder. Dot, it's worse than we thought. The numbers swam in front of Mama Dot's eyes. $127,000. Vanessa had taken $127,000 from her mother's retirement account over 18 months. How? Mama Dot's voice cracked. You added her as an authorized user in 2019, remember? After Jerome died, you wanted someone who could access accounts in case of emergency. In case I had a stroke, not so she could fund her business. I know, honey. I know. Elise's voice was gentle. There's more. She also took out a reverse mortgage on this house. That's impossible. The house is in the trust. She forged documents, used an old deed from before the trust transfer. The mortgage company didn't do proper due diligence, and she walked away with $95,000. Mama Dot sat down hard in Jerome's old desk chair. $22,200 total. Her daughter had stolen $222,000 from her. That's a felony, Elise said quietly. Elder financial exploitation. In Georgia, it carries 5 to 20 years in prison. I'm not sending my daughter to jail. I'm not saying you should. But you need to know that if you wanted to press charges, you'd have every legal right. Downstairs, the bass from the DJ's speakers thumped through the floorboards. Someone squealed. Laughter echoed. Mama Dot looked at Jerome's portrait, remembered their last conversation in the hospital. Promise me, Dot, if she forgets who she is, you remind her, even if it hurts. Especially if it hurts. That's love. Draw up the eviction papers, Mama Dot said. File them Monday morning. And the criminal complaint? Not yet, but prepare it, in case she tries to fight back dirty. Elise nodded, making notes. Anything else? Mama Dot pulled out her phone, opened her banking app one more time. There was one account left, the one that paid for Vanessa's car lease, Kenya's private school, the family's health insurance, even Brandon's golf club membership. All of it on auto pay. All of it coming out of Mama Dot's accounts. She canceled every single recurring payment. That's everything, Mama Dot said. Execute the plan. Dot. Elise reached across the desk, took her friend's hand. You know she's going to be devastated. She should have thought about that before she decided to sell our story without asking. She might not forgive you. Then she'll understand exactly how I feel right now. They sat in silence for a moment. 30 years of friendship, and Elise knew better than to try to talk her out of it. All right, Elise finally said, packing up the documents. I'll file everything electronically tonight. By the time she wakes up tomorrow, the cards will be dead, the autopay canceled, and the eviction notice will be in the system. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You're about to blow up your family, Dot. No, Mama Dot corrected. Vanessa already did that. I'm just cleaning up the mess. A knock on the door made them both jump. Mama? Vanessa's voice irritated. What are you doing in there? We're about to cut the cake. Coming, baby, Mama Dot called back. She stood, smoothed down her burgundy dress, the one she'd worn despite Vanessa's protests. Checked her reflection in the window. She looked like herself. Finally. Showtime, Elise murmured. They descended the stairs together. The party was in full swing, though swing implied more joy than what Mama Dot witnessed. It looked more like a performance where everyone had forgotten they were supposed to be celebrating an actual person. The DJ cut the music. Yo, yo, yo! Can I get everyone's attention, please? It's time for the birthday girl. Vanessa materialized next to Mama Dot, linking their arms together with a grip that was more possessive than affectionate. Smile, Mama. Camera's on you. Indeed, all 4 professional cameras swung toward them, plus 50 iPhones. They walked to the center of the room, where Mama Dot's pound cake had been replaced by a 4-tier monstrosity covered in fondant and edible gold leaf. On top, a sugar sculpture of the Glow Nova logo. Happy birthday! Everyone shouted, but it felt performative, rehearsed. Vanessa took the microphone from the DJ. She was in her element now, glowing under the lights. First of all, I just want to say thank you all for coming tonight. This is such a special moment for me. I mean for us. I mean for my mama. Laughter from the crowd. 67 years ago, Dorothy Washington came into this world, and she has been an icon ever since. Mama Dot stood beside her daughter, smiling politely. She could see Ms. Claudette in the back, arms folded, face skeptical. Reverend Pat watching with concern. My mother taught me everything about excellence, Vanessa continued, warming to her subject. She taught me that black women don't ask for permission. We take what's ours. She taught me that success is the best revenge, and she taught me that when you've got it, you flaunt it. Mama Dot didn't remember teaching any of those things. She remembered teaching humility, hard work, and respect. But apparently, those lessons hadn't landed. So tonight I wanted to honor my mama by showing her what her legacy looks like in 2025. Mama, you built the foundation, and I'm building the empire. Vanessa gestured broadly at the party, at the influencers, at the cameras. This is what you worked for. This is your reward. Polite applause. Vanessa handed the microphone to Mama Dot. Mama, you want to say a few words? Finally, Mama Dot took the microphone, looked out at the crowd, divided so clearly into 2 groups. Her people in the back, confused and uncomfortable. Vanessa's people in the front, phones out, filming everything. She opened her mouth. Good evening, everyone, she began. Her voice was steady, warm. I want to thank y'all for coming tonight, especially my sisters from New Hope Baptist Church. She turned to gesture toward the church ladies. That's when Vanessa moved. Okay, Mama, that's sweet, Vanessa laughed, plucking the microphone from her mother's hand. The gesture was quick, practiced, casual, but to everyone watching, it was crystal clear what just happened. Vanessa had just silenced her own mother. We'll do the church stuff later, Vanessa said, her smile bright and terrible. Right now, I want to introduce you to the real guests of honor tonight, my Glow Nova angels. The influencers cheered, started chanting, Glow Nova, Glow Nova. Mama Dot stood there, empty-handed, in the center of her own party. She looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. Saw someone so drunk on likes and views and brand deals that she'd forgotten the most basic rule. You don't disrespect your mama. Especially not at her own birthday party. Especially not on camera. From the back of the room, Ms. Claudette's voice rang out. Oh, hell no! Reverend Pat put a hand on her arm, stopping her, because they both saw what Mama Dot was doing. Nothing, Mama Dot simply smiled. It was a small smile, a dangerous smile. The kind of smile a woman wears when she's already 3 moves ahead in a chess game her opponent doesn't even know they're playing. She caught Elise's eye across the room. Elise nodded, understanding perfectly. Then came Brandon. Vanessa's husband stumbled forward, drink sloshing in his glass, emboldened by liquor and stupidity. "Yeah," he shouted. "Yeah, Mama Dot, just sit there and look pretty. This ain't your show no more. This is the young people's time. You had yours." The room went silent. Even the influencers stopped filming, because everyone, every single person in that room, knew that Brandon Sterling had just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Mama Dot looked at him, at her son-in-law, who'd been living rent-free in her house, eating her food, driving a car she helped pay for, smoothed her burgundy dress, and without a word, she set down the empty champagne glass someone had pressed into her hand earlier, smoothed her burgundy dress, and without a single word, walked out of the party. Behind her, she heard Vanessa's nervous laugh. She's probably tired, y'all. Old people need their rest, you know?" Old people. Mama Dot climbed the stairs to her bedroom, locked the door, sat on the bed she'd shared with Jerome for 43 years, pulled out her phone, opened her email, and sent one message to Elise Montgomery. "Execute everything, now." Then she went to her window and looked down at the garden, at Jerome's roses blooming in the moonlight. "Baby," she whispered to his memory, "I'm about to teach our daughter what you tried to tell her. This is gonna hurt, but it's the only way she's gonna learn." Downstairs, the party continued. The DJ started the music again. Vanessa was back in performance mode, laughing too loud, dancing too hard, trying to pretend nothing had happened. But Mama Dot knew better. Everything had happened, and by tomorrow morning, Vanessa Washington Sterling's whole world was going to come crashing down. Mama Dot changed into her nightgown, set her alarm for 6 a.m., and went to sleep with the kind of peace that only comes from knowing you're doing the right thing, even when the right thing feels like burning down everything you built. Tomorrow, the reckoning would begin. Sunday morning broke soft and golden over Savannah, the kind of morning that promised peace. Vanessa Sterling woke up with a mild hangover and a major glow. Last night had been perfect. Well, almost perfect. Mama had been weird, disappearing like that. But the content? Chef's kiss. Her Instagram stories alone had pulled 847,000 views. 3 brand partnerships had already slid into her DMs with collaboration offers. She stretched in the guest bedroom. She and Brandon had been temporarily staying in Mama's house for 6 months now, reaching for her phone before her eyes were fully open. First thing every morning, check the analytics. But this morning, her feed looked different. At TruthTA_blog had posted a video. The caption made her stomach drop. CEO tells her 67-year-old mother to shut up at her own birthday party. This is why black families stay broken. 12.4 million views. Posted at 3 a.m. No. Vanessa sat up, clicking the video. It was the moment. The exact moment she'd taken the microphone from Mama Dot. And whoever edited it had isolated the audio, removed the party noise, so all you could hear was Vanessa's voice. "We'll do the church stuff later." And then Brandon, drunk and stupid. "Yeah, Mama Dot, just sit there and look pretty. This ain't your show no more." The comments were brutal. I would have beat her right there in front of everybody. 2.1 million likes. This is what happens when you raise kids with no home training. 1.8 million likes. Mama Dot deserves better. Vanessa deserves nothing. 3.2 million likes. Vanessa's hands shook. She scrolled through her notifications. Her follower count was dropping. Not slowly, hemorrhaging. Down 15,000 in the last hour alone. 3 emails from brand partners. "We regret to inform you that we're moving in a different direction." She threw on clothes. Yesterday's designer tracksuit, now wrinkled, and headed downstairs. Brandon was snoring on the couch, still in his party clothes. Kenya and Deacon were blessedly still asleep. Coffee. She needed coffee and a damage control plan. But first, retail therapy. She'd go to Soul Luxe Spa, get a massage, clear her head, figure out how to spin this. She grabbed her purse, checked the mirror, even in crisis, lighting matters, and headed out. "Good morning, Mrs. Sterling." The receptionist, a young white woman named Madison, greeted her with the usual reverence. "Your 9 o'clock Glow Nova celebration package is all set." Vanessa had booked the works. Caviar facial, $850. Lymphatic drainage massage, $400. A champagne brunch for herself, and 3 influencer friends, $200 each. The total would be around $2,500, but whatever. Self-care wasn't selfish. She sank into the waiting room chair, already feeling better. This was her sanctuary. Her... Mrs. Sterling? Madison's voice had changed. Uncertain now. I'm so sorry, but your card was declined? Vanessa laughed. That's impossible. Run it again. Madison disappeared. Returned looking even more uncomfortable. I ran it 3 times. It says account closed by primary holder. The spa went quiet. Other customers looked over, curious. That doesn't make any sense. Vanessa pulled out her wallet, her fingers suddenly clumsy. Here, try this one. Madison tried the backup American Express, then the Visa, then the MasterCard. All declined, all with the same message. Account closed by primary holder. Primary holder. Mama Dot. Do you have another form of payment? Madison asked, her voice pitying now. Vanessa's phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again, a cascade of notifications, all arriving at once like they'd been queued up waiting for reception. J.P. Morgan Chase. Authorized user removed from account ending in 9847. American Express. Supplementary card privileges revoked effective 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wells Fargo. Overdraft protection canceled. Primary account holder request. Tesla lease services. Payment default detected. Vehicle immobilization pending. There were 47 emails, all sent between midnight and 1 a.m., all from companies informing her that Dorothy Washington had removed her access, canceled her privileges, revoked her authorizations. Mrs. Sterling, are you okay? Madison looked genuinely concerned now. Vanessa stood up so fast her chair tipped over. I have to go. She ran to the parking lot, fumbling for her car keys. Pressed the button to unlock her Tesla Model Y, the white one with the custom wheels, $78,000, paid for by, oh God. The car didn't respond. She pressed again. Nothing. Pulled out her phone, opened the Tesla app. A message filled the screen. Vehicle access suspended due to lease payment default. Account in arrears. $4,847. Contact lessor, Dorothy Washington Trust for reinstatement. Dorothy Washington Trust. Vanessa started laughing. It came out wrong. Too high. Too sharp. A woman loading groceries into her Lexus gave her a concerned look. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called Mama. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Voicemail. Mama, what the hell is going on? You need to call me back right now. My cards aren't working, my car is locked, and I know you did this. This isn't funny, Mama. I have a business to run. Call me back. She tried again. Straight to voicemail this time. Then she called the house line. It rang and rang. Nobody picked up. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Kenya, her daughter. Mom, Kenya was crying. Mom, my Instagram ads account got suspended. They said payment failed. And my Sephora order got canceled. What's happening? I don't know, baby. And Dad's freaking out because his golf club membership got revoked. Vanessa heard Brandon yelling in the background. That old bitch. I knew she was crazy. I told you not to mess with her. That old bitch. Her mama. Vanessa stood in the Sol Lux Spa parking lot, locked out of her car, cut off from her money, watching her life implode via email notifications, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Vanessa woke to darkness. Complete darkness. The digital clock was dead. The phone charger wasn't working. The AC had stopped humming. Brandon, she shook her husband awake. Brandon, the power's out. He groaned, rolling over. Call the electric company. Vanessa grabbed her phone, 12% battery left, and dialed Georgia Power. The automated system was maddeningly cheerful. For questions about your account, press 1. To report an outage, press 2. She pressed 1. Please enter your account number. She didn't know the account number. She'd never paid the bill. Mama had. After 10 minutes of navigating menus, she finally reached a human. Georgia Power, this is Darnell. How can I help you? My power's been cut off. This is an emergency. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. Can I get your account number? I don't have it. The address is 1247 Forsyth Park Boulevard. Typing sounds. Okay, I see that account. It shows... Oh, the account was closed by the account holder on Saturday night. Final bill was paid. Service disconnection was requested. That's impossible. I live here. Ma'am, the account holder was Dorothy Washington. She's listed as the property owner and... That's my mother! Okay, well, you'll need to set up a new account in your name. We can get someone out there within 5 to 7 business days to... 5 to 7 days? It's 94 degrees outside. I understand, ma'am, but that's our current availability. Would you like to schedule an appointment? Vanessa hung up, tried to call Mama again. Straight to voicemail. By noon, the house was sweltering. Savannah in September was no joke. The heat pressed down like a living thing, thick and wet. Kenya was crying in her room, phone dead, unable to charge it. Deacon had already walked to the public library to use their Wi-Fi and AC. At 3 p.m., the water stopped. Brandon discovered this while trying to flush the toilet. Vanessa! Vanessa! They stared at the toilet like it was a bomb. What do you do when there's no water? Brandon asked. Neither of them knew. Vanessa had an investor meeting downtown, a meeting that could save Glow Nova, a meeting she absolutely could not miss. She'd called an Uber, on what little credit she had left on her personal card. The driver pulled up and she climbed in. Hey, aren't you that Glow Nova lady? He asked, looking at her in the rearview mirror. Yes. She tried to smile. Yo, that video of you at your mama's party? That went crazy viral. I know. Man, my mama would have knocked me into next week if I pulled something like that. He laughed. You got some nerve, I'll give you that. The 15-minute drive felt like 15 hours. The investor meeting was a disaster. The VCs had seen the video. One of them even brought it up. Ms. Sterling, we're concerned about brand alignment. Our fund focuses on family values, and this recent publicity. Glow Nova lost a potential $500,000 investment. When Vanessa got home, in another Uber she couldn't afford, there was a notice on the door. Notice of eviction proceedings. Her vision blurred. She read it 3 times before the words made sense. The property was owned by the Jerome and Dorothy Washington Educational Trust. Vanessa and her family were occupants without a formal lease. Per the terms of the trust, they were being evicted for violation of residence terms, specifically exploitation of the primary resident for commercial gain without consent. They had 30 days. Vanessa crumpled the notice in her fist. 30 days. Brandon found her crying on the kitchen floor at 2 a.m. Baby, we gotta do something, he said. His breath smelled like the vodka he'd been secretly drinking. We can't just let her throw us out. What am I supposed to do? Vanessa sobbed. She won't answer my calls. She won't talk to me. Brandon was quiet for a minute. Then, what if we say she's not mentally fit? Vanessa looked up. What? Think about it. She's 67. We could call Adult Protective Services, say she's showing signs of dementia, confusion, erratic behavior, financial decisions that don't make sense. He was warming to the idea. We get her declared incompetent, we get conservatorship, and then we control everything. It was evil. It was wrong. It was also tempting. Brandon, I can't do that to my mama. Your mama just threw you out of her house, cut off all your money. She's trying to destroy you, Vanessa. He gripped her shoulders. This is self-defense. Vanessa thought about her business collapsing, about Kenya crying because she'd have to leave her private school, about Deacon working at McDonald's at 12 years old because they couldn't afford anything else. Okay, she whispered. Okay. They called Adult Protective Services at 9 a.m. Yes, hello, I need to report a vulnerable adult. My mother, Dorothy Washington, she's 67 and showing signs of severe mental decline. By 11 a.m., a social worker named Brenda Cole was at Mama Dot's door. Vanessa and Brandon watched from across the street, hidden in Brandon's cousin's car. The visit lasted 20 minutes. When Ms. Cole left, she did not look sympathetic. An hour later, Vanessa got a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Sterling, this is Brenda Cole from APS. I need to inform you that filing a false report of elder abuse is a criminal offense in Georgia, punishable by up to 12 months in jail and a $1,000 fine. Vanessa's blood turned to ice. What? Your mother presented medical documentation from Emory University Hospital, dated 2 days ago. Comprehensive cognitive testing, MMSE score, 30 out of 30. Perfect. She also showed me recent financial documents proving complex decision-making ability, including a $500,000 charitable donation she made last week. But she also showed me a video recording of you and your husband discussing this plan. Apparently, she installed security cameras after the birthday party, for her protection. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Mrs. Sterling, I'm going to give you a warning this time. But if you contact APS again with false claims, I will refer your case to the district attorney. Do you understand? Yes, Vanessa whispered. Your mother also asked me to tell you something. She said, tell my daughter that when you dig a hole for someone else, make sure it's not your own grave. The line went dead. Vanessa looked at Brandon. She knew. She knew we were going to do this before we even did it. How is that possible? Because, Vanessa said, realization dawning cold and terrible, Mama's been playing chess while we've been playing checkers. She's been 3 steps ahead this whole time. By the end of week 2, Vanessa's business was circling the drain. Her warehouse had locked her out for non-payment of rent, $8,000 overdue. Her Chinese manufacturer was holding 10,000 units of product hostage until she paid the invoice, $47,000. Her 3 employees had quit after 2 missed paychecks. She'd been so busy trying to save Glow Nova that she hadn't noticed what was happening with Brandon, until the men showed up. They came on a Tuesday afternoon, 2 of them, large, professional, the kind of men who collected debts for a living. We're looking for Brandon Sterling, the first one said pleasantly. He's not here, Vanessa lied. Tell him Tony says hello. And tell him he's got 72 hours to come up with $65,000, or we start taking assets. Nice house, by the way. Would be a shame if something happened to it. They left. When Brandon got home, from where Vanessa no longer knew, she was waiting. Who the fuck is Tony? Brandon's face went gray. Baby, I can explain. $65,000? It all came out. The sports betting, the poker games, the sure thing bets that weren't sure at all. He'd been gambling for 2 years, convinced he was about to hit it big. He'd already pawned Vanessa's wedding ring, had taken out a title loan on his truck, had even forged Mama Dot's signature to buy a vintage car, $40,000, that he'd immediately sold for half that to cover previous losses. You've been stealing from my mother too? Vanessa couldn't breathe. I was going to pay her back. I just needed one good win. She looked at her husband, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. Saw a man-child who'd been riding her coattails, spending her money, well, Mama's money, and gambling away their future. Get out, she said quietly. Baby, get out! Brandon left, took a duffel bag and disappeared. Later that night, Vanessa heard crying from Deacon's room. She found her 12-year-old son sitting on the floor, counting change. Baby, what are you doing? Trying to figure out if I have enough for the science textbook. The school says if I don't get it by Friday, I'll fail the class. He had $17.34 in coins. The textbook cost $89. Vanessa sat down next to her son on the floor of a house that wasn't hers anymore, in a life that was falling apart, and finally understood what Mama Dot had been trying to teach her. You can't build an empire on someone else's foundation and expect it to stand when that foundation gets taken away. Knock, knock, knock. Vanessa woke up in a cold sweat. She knew that knock. Official. Final. She pulled on a robe and went downstairs. Officer Tyrell Johnson stood on the porch in full uniform. Behind him were 2 more officers. Next to him was a woman in a sharp navy pantsuit, Attorney Elise Montgomery. Mrs. Sterling, Officer Johnson said formally, I have a court order for immediate eviction from this property. Immediate? The notice said 30 days. Elise stepped forward. The trust filed an emergency motion based on new evidence. The judge granted immediate eviction yesterday. What evidence? Financial exploitation of an elderly person. Fraud. Forgery. Elise's voice was clinical. Your mother has documentation that you've been stealing from her accounts for 18 months. That's elder financial abuse, Mrs. Sterling. A felony in Georgia. The world tilted. You have 2 hours to gather personal belongings, Officer Johnson continued. Only what you can carry. No furniture, no electronics that were purchased with Mrs. Washington's funds. Essentially clothing and personal items only. Where's my mama? Vanessa's voice cracked. Where is she? As if summoned, Mama Dot appeared on the second-floor balcony. She was dressed in a stunning Ankara print dress, yellow and gold, the colors of African royalty. Her silver hair was styled elegantly. She wore the pearl necklace Jerome had given her on their 20th anniversary. She looked down at her daughter like a queen surveying a disgraced subject. Mama, Vanessa whispered. Mama, please. Mrs. Sterling, Elise said, I'm required to inform you that criminal charges are being considered. The evidence shows you withdrew $127,000 from your mother's retirement accounts without authorization. You also forged documents to obtain a $95,000 reverse mortgage on this property. $222,000. The number hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Under Georgia law, Elise continued, elder financial exploitation carries a sentence of 5 to 20 years in state prison. Your mother has the option to press charges. Kenya emerged from upstairs, crying. Deacon behind her, face blank with shock. Grandma? Kenya called up to the balcony. Grandma, please don't make us leave. We're sorry. Mom's sorry. Right, Mom? Vanessa couldn't speak, couldn't move. Mama Dot finally spoke, her voice carrying clear and strong. Vanessa, you wanted to be a CEO. You wanted independence. You wanted to build an empire. She paused. Well, baby, CEOs handle their own business. Independent people pay their own bills. And empires? They're built on solid ground, not stolen money. I was going to pay you back, Vanessa sobbed. The business was supposed to, Mama Dot's voice hardened. But it didn't, because you built a house on sand and sand can't hold nothing. You're really going to let them put me on the street? Your own daughter? Your grandkids? I'm going to let you learn what I had to learn at 22, how to stand on your own 2 feet. Mama Dot gripped the balcony railing. You think I'm being cruel, but baby, the cruelest thing I ever did was make life too easy for you. I let you forget where you came from. I let you think success was about designer bags and Instagram likes instead of integrity and hard work. She turned to go back inside, then stopped. Officer Johnson will make sure you leave safely. You've got 2 hours. And she disappeared into the house. They ended up in Brandon's cousin's basement. $400 a month, split between 4 of them. Brandon had crawled back after 3 days. The basement was damp, cramped, and smelled like mildew. Kenya had to share a room with Deacon. There was 1 bathroom for 6 people. No AC. Vanessa got 2 jobs. 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., packing cosmetics at a distribution warehouse. $15 per hour. Standing on concrete floors until her feet screamed. 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Customer service calls for a telecommunications company. $14 per hour. Getting yelled at by angry customers who couldn't pay their bills. A irony that wasn't lost on her. At night, she took free financial literacy courses at the public library. She learned about budgeting, about debt-to-income ratios, about the difference between assets and liabilities. She learned all the things Mama Dot had tried to teach her, that she'd been too arrogant to listen to. Kenya changed too. The private school was gone. She was at Savannah High now, a public school where nobody cared about her follower count. Her first day, a girl named Jasmine had shared lunch with her when Kenya didn't have money for the cafeteria. You're that girl from the video, right? Jasmine had asked. Kenya had braced for mockery. Yeah, I saw that. My abuela said your grandma is a real one. Said she did what needed doing. Jasmine had handed over half her sandwich. My mom kicked my dad out last year for the same reason. He forgot who paid the bills. Real friendship, Kenya discovered, had nothing to do with likes. Deacon was working part-time at McDonald's. At 12. He'd lied about his age, said he was 14. Needed a work permit that Vanessa had to sign. One night she found him counting dollar bills on his mattress. What's this for, baby? I'm saving up, he said quietly. To pay Grandma back. Vanessa started crying. Couldn't stop. Her 12-year-old son had more integrity than she'd had at 42. Kenya wrote to Mama Dot. A real letter, handwritten on notebook paper. Dear Grandma Dot, I'm not asking you to take us back. I'm writing to say I'm sorry. I used to think you were old-fashioned. I thought Sunday dinners were boring. I thought your stories about the old days were irrelevant. But last Sunday, Mrs. Rivers, your neighbor, brought us collard greens and cornbread. She said, your grandma taught me this recipe 30 years ago, when I was a broke single mother. She gave me food, gave me hope, gave me a job reference. I cried, Grandma, because I realized you weren't just feeding us. You were teaching us to feed others. Mom's working 2 jobs now. She comes home exhausted, but she makes us dinner every night. She's learning to budget. She's learning to struggle. And I think she's learning to be the woman you tried to raise her to be. I want to learn too. Not for Instagram. For real. Can I come to church this Sunday? I want to hear your stories, the ones I was too stupid to listen to before. I love you, Grandma. Kenya Mama. Dot received the letter on a Thursday. She read it 3 times, cried twice. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she sent a package to Kenya, her grandmother's handwritten cookbook, the Jerome's Kitchen Queen apron, a note. Recipes are earned, not given. Come to church this Sunday. We'll talk. Vanessa, Kenya, and Deacon showed up at New Hope Baptist at 10 a.m. sharp. They wore their best clothes, which weren't very best anymore. Kenya's dress was from Goodwill. Deacon's shoes had a hole in the sole he'd covered with cardboard. Mama Dot was sitting in her usual pew, 3rd row center. She didn't turn around when they entered, but Ms. Claudette did, and she smiled, a real smile, and gestured for them to sit in the row behind Mama. Reverend Pat preached about the prodigal son. When it came time for announcements, she said, "This morning I'm honored to announce the 10th recipient of the Jerome and Dorothy Washington HBCU Scholarship." Vanessa's head snapped up. This scholarship was established 3 years ago by our very own sister Dorothy Washington, funded with $50,000 annually. It supports young people who demonstrate character, resilience, and commitment to education despite difficult circumstances. Reverend Pat smiled. This year's recipient wrote an essay titled, "Learning to Appreciate Struggle." He's 12 years old. He works part-time at McDonald's to help his family, and he's saving every penny to pay back a debt he didn't even create. Vanessa's heart stopped. "Deacon Sterling, come on up here, baby." Deacon looked at Vanessa, confused. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. He walked to the front. Mama Dot stood up, walked to her grandson, and hugged him for a long, long time. "Your Grandpa Jerome always said, 'Invest in those who invest in themselves,'" she told him, loud enough for the whole church to hear. "You got a job at 12 years old without anyone forcing you. That's character, baby. That's what this scholarship honors." $20,000 for 4 years of college, Reverend Pat announced, contingent on maintaining a 3.0 GPA and participating in community service. The church erupted in applause. Deacon was crying. "Grandma, I thought you hated us." "Baby, no." Mama Dot cupped his face. "I was teaching you. There's a difference. Your mama forgot that lesson. But you learned it on your own." After church in the parking lot, Mama Dot finally approached Vanessa. They stood 3 feet apart, an ocean of hurt between them. "Mama," Vanessa started, how much have you saved?" The question caught Vanessa off guard. "What? In 8 weeks of working 2 jobs, how much have you saved?" $5,000. "And how much do you owe me?" $222,000. Vanessa's voice broke. "I know I can't ever pay it all back, but I'm trying, Mama. I'm really trying." Mama Dot was quiet for a long moment. "You sold your designer bags?" "All of them. Got $8,000. "The jewelry?" "Gone. Another $4,000. "The Glow Nova business?" Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Bankrupt. I'm filing Chapter 7 next week." Mama Dot nodded. "Good." "Good?" "Good that you're starting over. Good that you're building from the ground up. Good that you're learning what I tried to teach you. You can't fake your way to success. You have to earn it." Vanessa wiped her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mama." "For the party, for the microphone, for stealing from you, for forgetting who you are, who I'm supposed to be." "I know, baby." "Can you forgive me?" Mama Dot considered this. "Eventually, but not today. Today you keep working, keep saving, keep showing me you understand." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Vanessa, I'm going to Paris next week, for 2 weeks. When I get back, you come to Sunday dinner. Bring your own collard greens. If they're good, we'll talk about what happens next." It wasn't full forgiveness, but it was a door, opened just a crack. Mama Dot had never been to Paris. Jerome had always wanted to take her, but life got in the way. Vanessa's college tuition, the business expenses, the mortgage. There was always something more important than a vacation. But now, at 67, sitting in first class on Air France Flight 682, Mama Dot was finally going. She wore a silk suit in emerald green. Her passport, brand new, sat in her Louis Vuitton bag from 1985, the one she'd bought when she made manager for the first time. The flight attendant brought champagne, real champagne, not the cheap stuff from Vanessa's party. Mama Dot raised her glass to the empty seat next to her. "This one's for you, Jerome," she whispered. She visited the Pantheon, where Josephine Baker was interred, the first black woman honored in France's National Mausoleum. Mama Dot stood before the crypt, head bowed. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing us we could be more than what they expected." She left flowers, red roses from Jerome's garden that she'd carefully preserved and carried across the ocean. By the Seine River, she sat at a cafe and wrote in her journal, "Jerome, it's been 67 years, baby. 67 years of building, fighting, surviving, and teaching. I was so angry at Vanessa, so heartbroken, because I saw myself in her, that hunger to prove something, to matter, to be seen. But I forgot to teach her the difference between ambition and arrogance, between confidence and entitlement. You told me before you left, don't let them erase you, Dot. Not our daughter, not society, not even time. So I didn't. I burned down everything she built on false ground. And now I'm watching the first green shoots grow. Kenya called me yesterday. She cooked collard greens for her school's cultural day. She said they tasted like home. Deacon wants to study engineering, said he wants to build affordable housing for elders. Like Grandma taught me, build foundations. Vanessa's still struggling, but struggle is the crucible. That's where real strength gets forged. I'm not the villain in this story, Jerome. I'm the gardener. I pulled the weeds so the roses could bloom. I miss you every day, but I'm not done yet. Not even close. Your Dot." Her phone rang. Elise. "Dot, Vanessa just paid back another $5,000. She's up to $10,000 total. That's progress. She wants to meet when you get back. Says she has something to show you. Tell her I'll be home in a week, and tell her to bring collard greens." Mama Dot hung up and ordered another coffee. Real French coffee, bitter and strong and perfect, just like life. 3 months later, Thanksgiving. The dining room table was set the old way. Lenox china, hand-embroidered tablecloth, magnolia centerpiece, 24 place settings. Mama Dot sat at the head of the table, surveying her kingdom. To her right, Vanessa, looking thinner but stronger, wearing a simple dress instead of designer labels. To her left, Kenya and Deacon, both in church clothes. Brandon was absent. He and Vanessa were legally separated. He was in rehab for gambling addiction. Maybe he'd come back different. Maybe not. Around the table, Reverend Pat, Ms. Claudette, Elise, Officer Tyrell and his family, the church ladies, Vanessa's former co-workers from the warehouse who'd become real friends, and the food. Fried chicken, made by Vanessa, finally using Mama Dot's recipe. Collard greens, also Vanessa, not perfect but honest. Mac and cheese, Mama Dot couldn't let go of everything. Sweet potato pie, Kenya's first attempt, lumpy but made with love. Cornbread, Deacon, surprisingly good. Before they ate, Vanessa stood. "Mama, I wanted to say something." Mama Dot nodded. "These last 3 months were the hardest of my life. I lost my business, lost my husband, lost my pride." Vanessa's voice shook. "But I found something more important. I found my purpose." She pulled out a folder. "I'm starting a new business. Not beauty, financial literacy. Teaching young black women what you tried to teach me. How to build wealth, not just income. How to budget, how to invest, how to protect themselves from making the mistakes I made." She opened the folder to show a logo. Dorothy's Daughters Financial Literacy Program. "I'm calling it Dorothy's Daughters, because even when you kicked me out, you were still teaching me. And now I want to teach others." Mama Dot's eyes filled with tears. "It's nonprofit," Vanessa continued. "I'm not taking a salary for the first year. I'm working at the warehouse still, saving money. But I've got 3 churches interested in hosting workshops, and," she smiled, "Kenya's going to run the social media. Real stories, real financial journeys, no filters." Kenya stood up. "Grandma, I know I was all about influencing before, but now I want to influence people to make better choices. Show them that struggle isn't shameful. It's how you grow." Deacon raised his hand like he was in class. "And I'm going to create a budgeting app for kids, so they learn young." Mama Dot looked at her family. Broken, rebuilding, real. "Baby," she said to Vanessa, "that's the first time you've used my name for something that matters." They hugged, really hugged. for the first time in months. "I'm still paying you back," Vanessa whispered. "Every dollar." "I know you will, but take your time. Focus on building something real first." Reverend Pat called for Grace. They held hands around the table, all 24 of them, and Mama Dot prayed, "Lord, thank you for this food. Thank you for this family. Thank you for second chances and hard lessons and the kind of love that's strong enough to break before it bends. Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them fall so they can learn to stand. Amen." Amen. After dinner, Mama Dot found Vanessa in the kitchen, washing dishes. "You know we have a dishwasher, right?" Mama Dot asked. "I know, but this feels right. Doing it by hand." Vanessa scrubbed a plate. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Always." "When did you know? When did you know you had to do what you did?" Mama Dot was quiet for a moment. "When you took that microphone out of my hand, not because it hurt my feelings, though it did, but because I saw you'd forgotten the most basic thing, respect. And if you couldn't respect me, you weren't going to respect yourself, or your kids, or your legacy. I get it now. Do you?" "Yeah." Vanessa rinsed the plate. "Love isn't soft. Love is steel wrapped in silk. You loved me enough to let me hit bottom, so I could climb back up the right way." Mama Dot smiled. "Your daddy used to say that. Steel wrapped in silk. I miss him." "Me too, baby. Every day." They washed dishes in comfortable silence. Outside, Kenya was teaching Ms. Claudette how to use Instagram. Deacon was showing Officer Tyrell his app prototype. Reverend Pat was telling stories that made everyone laugh. Through the kitchen window, Mama Dot could see Jerome's roses, still blooming in November, defying the season, refusing to quit, just like her. "Mama?" Vanessa dried her hands. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself." "Baby, I'm your mama. That ain't in my nature." She pulled Vanessa close, breathing in her daughter's hair, smelling like the coconut oil she used now instead of expensive salon products, smelling like home. "Now," Mama Dot said, pulling back. "You said those collard greens were made with smoked turkey neck?" "Yes, ma'am." "Not ham hock?" "Turkey neck, just like you taught me." Mama Dot smiled. "Then you're learning. Slowly, but you're learning." From the dining room, Reverend Pat called out, "Dorothy, come tell us about Paris." Mama Dot walked into the dining room, surrounded by people who loved her. Not for her money, not for what she could do for them, but for who she was. She sat down in Jerome's old chair at the head of the table and began to tell her story.